And if possible, I would like to request people on the Zoom also to turn on the videos. It's really nice to speak to a live audience. So if you can, please turn on the videos. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You would wonder why I want to talk about Anitya, Dukkha, and Anatma when it seems to be such. You still can't hear? Hello?
We can hear online.
Yes. Can you hear now? I'm just checking the hall now. Hello? It's just working, no? That's just gone off. Can you hear me now? Oh, yes. Yes, can hear. And hopefully no echo for the Zoom participants. Okay. So the reason I chose Anitya, Dukkha, Anatma, the Tilakkhana to speak about is because the Buddhism that we come across, it's 2,600 years old. And therefore, we have to use our wisdom to understand what did the Buddha say and what did others say for the last 2,600 years. And there is always a subtle difference, because when we talk about something, we add our own personal views into it, our preferences. So for 2,600 years, that has happened. And that is why the Buddha said, do not believe anything because you heard it from the Buddha or from an enlightened being or from learned monks. You need to think about it, reflect, use it practically. And if it makes sense to you, then you believe it. So for me, I have heard so much that the Buddha is asama sama. Asama means incomparable to all other beings. Sama is because he's only comparable to Buddhas themselves. Now, friends, Buddha was a generic word used back then to define any enlightened being, because Buddha means the awakened one. And when you are enlightened, you have awakened from this dream that we Pruthagjanas live. But subsequently, there was a need to differentiate the Samma Sambuddha from the other enlightened beings. And we started using the term Buddha for only the Samma Sambuddha and Rahat, or enlightened beings, to describe and define the rest of the people who got enlightened, right? But Asama is, he's incomparable to all of us, assuming that none of you are enlightened. Apologies for that assumption. And Sama is, he's equal to all the enlightened beings, right? Now, if that is the case, then I always had this inclination that maybe we are missing something subtle, something small, subtle and small enough to miss, not interesting to come across 2,600 years. And thankfully, we have heard that the Dhamma will perish in 5,000 years. So 2,600 looks like the turning point. And in any turning point, there's a peak. And we can see the peak now. We are hearing Dhamma like we have never heard before. Never. And I have a feeling that this will last another 50 or 100 years before it slowly starts diminishing. So now you hear extraordinary talks, extraordinary things we had never heard before. And suddenly you realize that, okay, here comes the subtle things. Here comes the things that went missing. And why do I say this? Because I had the good fortune to work in India for 2.5 years. The place where everything started, it's not there anymore. It's gone all back to what it was pre-Buddha period. It's all gone back. All the cultural, social revolutions that took place, I don't see it. So it's not surprising that the word of the Buddha, which helped people to understand through wisdom what suffering is, it's not there anymore. So what was this all about? Let us think of what anitya or impermanence is. We see it all the time. The more we live, the clearer it gets. And haven't you ever thought, like, what more, how much clearer does it need to be? Because you can see where all this is heading, right? Okay. So what are we missing then? Because the whole thing about the Tilakkhana is, if you see the Tilakkhana, if you understand it, the path of nirvana is open to you. And I understand everything is impermanent. And it makes me feel depressed, honestly. It doesn't make me feel peaceful. I understand sorrow, and I don't like it. I understand to some extent that there is no me, and that scares me a lot. It freaks me out. Honestly, understanding impermanence, sorrow, and non-self has not given me peace. So the real Dhamma is peaceful. The more you understand it, the more peaceful you become. So then maybe we are missing something. Maybe this is not what the Buddha was talking about. Maybe this is popular culture. And then I heard a talk recently about the popular culture of the Tilakkhana. And a monk was saying, think of the change, impermanence that we see. You are born, you grow old, you fall sick, and you die. And he was asking, do you need a Buddha to come and tell you this? Do you need to be a Buddhist to understand this? Right? Any normal, intelligent person in the normal curve of intelligence gets this. But you know what is funny? Even animals get this, right? If you think of dukkha, sadness, suffering, I have had dogs all my life, and when I have two dogs, when one dog dies, the other dog goes into depression. So even my dog gets impermanence and suffering, right? Any person in any religion gets it. So I was thinking that's true. You don't need a Buddha to come and say that, right? I mean, it's very clear that things are not working out the way we want it. Maybe anatma is not clear. Maybe you need a Buddha to explain that part of it. But anitya and dukkha, so then what are we missing? So this monk was talking about some of these fine things in it. He was saying about sabbe sankara anitya, sabbe sankara dukkha. And if you see this with wisdom, if you see this with wisdom, the door to nirvana opens to you. Okay. And I was thinking, okay, so maybe this is the point that we were missing. And then he was saying in dukkha, there was some sutra that the Buddha spoke about, Dukkhata Sutra. Dukkhata Sutra. In that he's talking about three types of dukkhas. Dukkho dukkha. So dukkho dukkha is the pain that we feel. Body pain, right? Body pain, mental pain, all the pain as we know it, the pain that we all dislike so much. Second point he was talking about is viparinama dukkha, venasvima nisa ativana dukkha, the suffering or the sadness or the sorrow that comes with change. And that maybe we don't realize in the first 20 years of our lives. Maybe the next 20 we get some realization of it, but certainly in the third 20 years, I think anybody who makes it to the third 20 years is very, very clear on that change leads to suffering, right? The third dukkha that the Buddha spoke about was sankhara dukkha. Sankhara dukkha. Now that dukkha requires a Buddha to explain. Because the first one, any pain is suffering, everybody gets it. Animals get it. Forget people. Change leads to suffering. Animals get that too. When a dog mommy loses the dog puppy, the dog mommy is devastated, right? You can see some animals can cry and you can see them crying. You can see them depressed. Sankhara dukkha. Now that is the first. That probably needs a asamasama person to speak about. Okay. So if you see the anitya impermanence in sankhara, if you see the dukkha nature in sankhara, if you see the non-self that is getting derived out of sankhara, what sankhara is, yes, then the door to nirvana opens to you. Okay. So and I'm thinking, okay, now we are talking. So what is sankhara? Sankhara is, of course, formation, mental formations. So with your permission, because I think the last few talks I have done, I have always come back to the topic of Panchaskandha. This is the 5 aggregates of suffering, Panchaskandha. This is the popular culture Mecca story of Buddhism, right? That's for another day. If you don't know the Mecca story, please contact me. I will tell you. That's hilarious, actually. So the Panchaskandha, the 5 aggregates, is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Rupa is form, Vedana is sensations, Sanya is perception, Sankhara is formation, Vijnana is your consciousness. So how this works is form, sensations, perception, and formations are 4. It's a process. Consciousness is there at every place. Consciousness is how we know that we can see, we can hear, we can taste, and so on. So let me very briefly give a snapshot of this Panchaskandha, the 5 aggregates. Everything the Buddha spoke about, to the 4 Noble Truths, to the Paticca Samuppada, everything is around these 5 aggregates. And these 5 aggregates are responsible, I can't say responsible, but these 5 aggregates is also what gives us a false notion of myself, me, I, myself. So what is this? So let us use an example, okay? So we have 5 sense faculties in the body, and we have the mind faculty. And the mind faculty, if you permit me to refer to the brain, because the Buddha clearly says the sense faculties are in the body. So the 5 sense faculties we know, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body. It's very clear it's in the body. Where is the mind? So if the Buddha said it's in the body, assuming that he knew what he's talking about, the closest I can think is the brain. So the doctors here can have a debate on that later. All I think is if you are brain dead, your mind is not working. So it kind of links. So just give me the benefit of the doubt here and let's go with the brain. So 6 sense faculties are there in the body. And through these sense faculties, we experience the world. Can you think of any experience of the world, of life, that is not with these 6 sense faculties? You cannot, because from the time we understood what is going on in this world to now, everything makes sense through these sense faculties. So these sense faculties are very important. So how does this happen? Let's take the eye. You have an eye and you need a visual object. Now, just because there's an eye and a visual object right in front of you, will you see? No, right? You have life experience of somebody standing in front of you and telling you, why are you ignoring me? Why are you not telling hi to me? And then you're like, oops, I am so sorry. I was so engrossed thinking about something else. I didn't see you. So it goes to show you can have an eye and you can have a visual object right in the vicinity or in the direction of your eye, but that doesn't mean you can see. In order to see, you also need one more thing. You need your mind's attention. You need your mind's attention. So when these three things come together, the eye, the visual object, and your mind's attention, visual consciousness arises. What does this consciousness mean? Consciousness is simply the knower. You know that you can see. Consciousness is the knower. Okay. So what happens? So Rupa, now for a long time, even now in our textbooks, Rupa is referred to as the physical body is outside. And that is how I learned it for O-level. That is how we teach it at the Dhamma school, because if we teach anything else, the kids will fail. But that is not Rupa. Rupa is in the mind, and this is how it works. These 5 aggregates are mental things. These are not physical things, right? Rupa is your eye is a physical thing. The visual object is a physical thing. The mind's attention brings eye consciousness. And it creates what we call a touch sensation. And there is an electromagnetic stimulation of the eye that sends electromagnetic data through the optical nerve to your brain. And your brain starts processing this. Now, these happen so fast, we don't even know it's happening. So while the brain is processing this, because remember, after Rupa comes Vedana, which is sensations. Neutral sensations flood you. It's neutral because you haven't recognized this yet. There's cognition, not recognition. Recognition is about relying on past memories. So sanya, or the perception, is where you rely on past memories. So I will not go into detail, but just to remember sanya as a filing cabinet. Your brain is a supercomputer. It has filed everything that you have experienced from birth to now in that filing cabinet. So let's say my eye visual object is Dr. Manori, and my mind's attention goes, and suddenly I'm conscious. Eye consciousness arises that I can see something. Now, friends, my eye is just a physical object. It's made of flesh and whatever else, the doctors here will help me, whatever else goes into the eye. It doesn't know Dr. Manori. It has no idea what is being seen. The eye gives input in terms of shapes and color only. The eye knows shapes, the eye knows colors. That's all. So you remember the Buddha said, Dutude Dutua Pamanai, what you see is only what you see. Your eye sees only shapes and colors. So where is this Dr. Manori? So these shapes and colors, electromagnetic charges go through the optical nerve. The consciousness has cognition that it's seeing shapes and colors, cognition. It goes to the brain, and the brain now starts processing this information. It has a big CPU, central processing unit. And then it pulls out a file titled Dr. Manori. In this file, there's a lot of data. It has characteristics, the color, the height, and all of that, but it has more important data. The most important data is Do I like this person or not? Am I fond of this person or not? Do I want to approach this person and say hi, or do I want to just run away? Never to see this person again. That important information is there. That important information, when it's getting processed, there is recognition, which is what we call recognition. Now we recognize what these shapes and colors mean to us. And there is a story behind this particular shape and colors. Dr. Manori, president of the Servants of the Buddha, very good friend, very nice person. I love talking to this person. And a flood of pleasant sensations engulfed my body. Rupa Vedana, sensations, very pleasant sensations, which got perceived in a previous time and recorded and recognized. So we are relying on our past memories. Now, for whatever the reason, if this encounter doesn't go well, and we swear to not to talk to each other ever again, which is quite possible, given that we are protagonists or over some really petty issue, then my file will get rewritten. It will get overwritten, maybe temporarily, because you know how fights with friends goes, temporarily, right? And the next time the cognition turns to recognition, the outcome may be different. But thankfully, every time we meet, our love and respect grows. And then what happens? Rupa Vedana Sanya. Now remember, consciousness is the knower. So consciousness now knows everything. And this is so fast, friends. You don't even know this is happening. You can't catch it. And then comes the formation. Then comes the formation. And this formation, in simple local terms, we say sakas venava. It starts constructing. The formation starts constructing in the mind as thoughts, body as action, words. So thoughts get constructed based on the recognition. Oh, Dr. Manori. So Dr. Manori, when you call me at odd hours, expecting various possible reactions, you always get a, hi, Dr. Manori. That is a thought construction that got converted into words because of the loving feelings that got induced from the recognition. It's all unconscious. Nothing is planned. And then the action, then Dr. Manori will say, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Usually she is, always calls at the most inconvenient time. But remember, for the love, the body and the words are now constructed. Oh no, Dr. Manori, I can talk. Because for me, it's precious. I know she's very busy. She's a doctor, practicing doctor. I know she'd call for something very important, for a service. And if I miss this, we'll keep missing each other. So see how it is getting constructed. And that is the formations. So why did the Buddha say that these formations are impermanent? These formations are unsatisfactory, and these formations are non-self. So one thing is, it's all getting constructed in the mind. My eye saw some shape and color. My eye cannot distinguish Dr. Manori from Anoja, from Sanat, from Samantha in this Zoom call, from all the lovely people here, a lot of friends on the Zoom call. For my eye, everything is shapes and colors. Everything is neutral. There's nothing to like. There's nothing to dislike. There's nothing to get attracted. There's nothing to repel. It is an experience taking place right now. But there is a misunderstanding that I am seeing something. My eye is seeing my friend, Dr. Manori, and I must respond correctly. There's a lot of I, me, myself there. Where does this misunderstanding come from? It comes from childhood, babyhood. When you are born into this world, there's a point where you are conscious. What are you conscious about? Nothing and everything. For 9 months, you were inside a dark, warm, not spacious place. For 9 months, you got used to it. And you thought, this is good. You probably were uncomfortable and you tried to stretch and make some space. And those of you who know what I'm talking about, whenever you stretched and made some space, the doctor told you to count. You told your mother to count. If you can count 10, your baby's safe. That's what my doctor told. Anyway, you had no idea. You were just trying to make some space. But you were so used to it. Remember, we are creatures of habit. A good 6-7 months after you're out in the world and there's all the space you need, you still prefer to be curved up like you were in the womb. We are creatures of habit. So you come out, and some babies, their eyes are open inside. You are accustomed to the dark. You are accustomed to warm. You are accustomed to no space. And you come out and there's too much light. And liquid would have been comforting on your skin. And now suddenly people are touching you, cleaning you, pulling you, dressing you. Probably this is uncomfortable and you start crying. Probably we have no idea what's going on, but we probably can sense something. Somewhere the intellect grows and you start becoming conscious that something is happening. There's something happening here and you're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to make sense of it. You look around and you can see your body and everybody around is very helpful. They start helping you to identify yourself. They call you Baba, baby. They say, this is Baba's nose, this is Baba's finger, this is Baba's toy. And they help you to create this identity, me, myself, I. And it helps actually because you're wondering what is going on here? What is this? What is going on? And they're like, this is me. This is I. This is myself. And I have a name. And then gradually you realize there's a mother. I have a mother. Wow, I have a father. Or I have a shoe. And you realize that you are important because when you yell, everyone comes running. When you scream, everyone comes running. When you smile, everybody's so happy. So this me, myself, I gets registered again and again and again. Imagine what's happening in your brain. Neurons, neuron pathways are getting created. By the time your first birthday, me, myself, I is a super highway in your brain. And that to now only gets registered. Me, myself, I, the most important person in the universe. Why do I say this? This is what we believe. I am the most important person in this universe. Let me give a simple example. So we live in a climate that can have sudden showers, rain showers. So imagine you dress up to go out. It was a nice sunny day and you dress up to go out and you open the door and it's raining. Isn't that annoying? Deep inside, you are annoyed because the universe has decided to reign now when I am going out. That seems quite unfair. This is how important I am. I want the universe, mind you, to realign itself to suit me. That is how big this ego is. That is how big this ego is. And if there is one thing that is keeping us from permanent peace, this is it. And we all say that my ego is not that big. You have no idea how big your ego is. If you are not enlightened, that is. So this misunderstanding is why the Buddha said, Siyalu sanskaryo anityai. All sankhara is impermanent. All sankharas lead to dissatisfaction and a misinterpretation of me, myself, I. Why is sankhara impermanent? Let us go back to the visual example. I can see Dr. Manori because I have an eye. That is the starting point, right? I need a healthy functioning eye. Now the eye is impermanent. But that I saw only when I got to like 37 or so, when my eye started malfunctioning and I had to wear glasses. And the horrible truth of impermanence dawned on me. And that was not the impermanence the Buddha was talking about. The Buddha is talking about something that is happening right now. The entire Paticca the Four Noble Truths, everything is about now. We are on adapter, right? We are on something. Okay. So there's a power cut now, but I think mic is still working. Internet is still working. Dr. Manori has done some magic. Okay.
Internet is working?
Yes, everything is working. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. The impermanence comes from a change that is happening now. Now for this, I need to use an anecdote. The Buddha is such a brilliant teacher because of the anecdotes. Because if we try to tell this, explain this from science or from Abhidhamma, we'll be going in circles. But if we use anecdotes, which is what the Buddha did, by the way, then thousands, millions, I don't know how many people got enlightened back then. So one anecdote he used a lot was about the ring of fire. So those of you who are accustomed to these Asian practices, especially processions, you have seen there are people who are very skillful in creating rings of fire. So what happens is you take a reasonably long pole and tie highly flammable stuff to the end of it with a tight fit so that it doesn't get thrown away, and you light it. And there are two balls of fire. Now, if you are skilled, highly skilled and experienced, you know to turn it really fast. Actually, there is a speed you need to turn it. You need to turn it just slightly faster than the speed of your eye shutter. Because we blink, there is a blinking that happens naturally, the shutter speed in our eyes. You just need to twirl that pole faster than your eye shutter speed. So we are quite limited based on our physical scope in what we can actually see and hear and taste, and everything is limited to what this body can do for us. So once this thing is turning faster than our eye speed to comprehend it, we stop seeing two independent balls of fire and we start seeing a ring of fire, a ring of fire. And this is why the Buddha always spoke about two worlds. There is a perceived world and there is a real world. In the perceived world, you perceive a ring of fire. But in the real world, through wisdom, you know that there is no ring. We Pruthagjanas live in the ring of fire, believing there is a me, myself, believing I have sons and daughters, houses and cars. And because I believe there is me, I have created myself, I can die. I will die because I created it. The day you realize there is no me, you stop dying because there's nothing to die. You reach a deathless state. But it's, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the mind. Your body will die. Your mind will stop functioning. But you have reached a deathless state. You don't identify with it. We die because we have created myself. Erroneously, of course. Now, coming back to this whole impermanence, this ring of fire, this perceived world, this is where we live. Once in a way, we use our wisdom, like today, on a Saturday afternoon, when all the other very important work in our life, which we'll never sacrifice for this kind of thing, when all that is done, we come for this talk. And then we listen through wisdom to the Buddha's word. So the real world, we spend time in the real world, maybe, I don't know. You have to ask yourself, how much time do you spend in the real world? Now remember, friends, we are creatures of habit. If 90% of your time you are going to spend in the perceived world, believing the ring of fire exists, and 10% of the time you come to the real world and you see with wisdom that yes, in the procession there is a ring of fire, but I know that there are two balls of fire being turned at a speed that my eye cannot comprehend anymore. But it's two balls of fire. There is no ring. If you are going to spend 10% of your time there and 90% of your time in the perceived world, how will this end? It will end with you forming another life, because that is what you're used to. So if you want to break from this, what all the Buddhas called a dream of existence, you have misunderstood. You are in a dream. You need to wake up. Then you have to start by investing a bit more. So I have to really tell you this story. Here is the place where I tell you the story of Andere and how he ate curd. Because whenever I tell people this is a 24/7 job, the Buddha told us introspection. This can only be seen with wisdom. Introspection from inside. This is happening in your mind, friends. You have to observe it in your mind. And in order to observe it, you have to stop. You have to stop doing whatever you are doing in the perceived world. Only if you stop, you can observe your mind. So then my friends always tell me, yes, of course, but I am busy. I will do this after retirement. And I have friends who have retired and they say, oh, I'm busy. And then I'm like, so when are you going to do this? Next birth? Or my mother and father, my mother, very intelligent lady, but her senses, her mind is failing her. She's going back to the baby stage. Time is running out, friends. We can die tonight. And we have lost a fantastic opportunity because we prioritized the perceived world, because we believe that the ring of fire is real. It's fun, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's magic. So the monk who told this explained about Andere and his curd. So one day Andere, he's the court jester, if you don't know who Andere is, long ago. And he visits the king often. So one day he visits the king and the king says, Andere, come, let's have some lunch. And he's like, no, your majesty, I had lunch. No, thank you. Oh, what a pity, because I got absolutely brilliant curd for dessert. Then what a pity, you can't have it. You are too full. No, your majesty, I will. Of course, I'll have the curd. Then the king asked, how is this possible? How will you make room for curd when you're already full? And Andre said, let me demonstrate. And he said, your majesty, let's fill this hall with people. Let's fill it with your staff so that no other person can enter. So the king quickly called everybody and filled the hall with staff, people. And now the Andere and the king are outside the hall. Now Andere asks, your majesty, can you put one more person? No, Andere, I can't stuff anyone in. Now, your majesty, my stomach is like this. It's full. Now, your majesty, I invite you to go from this door right across this hall and exit from the back, right across and come back. And the king says, are you mad, fellow? There's no room. And Andre says, trust me, your majesty, room will get created. King says, okay. And the king enters the hall. And what do you think the servants do? Out of mortal fear, respect, whatever you call it, they squeeze and make room, enough room for 3 people to move in an otherwise tightly packed hall. And the king moves so easily. So easily. And he comes and asks Andre, what happened? How come everyone made room? And Andre said, when something that is supreme, something noble, something important, something very, very important comes, the mundane makes way. The normal gives way. Curd, your majesty, is supreme and noble. When curd enters, the stomach makes room. Just like when your majesty enters, the servants made room. So similarly, friends, no matter how busy you are, you must make room for the supreme, for the noble, for the very, very important, the most important thing in this life. You need a daily practice. This daily practice is of 2 natures because our talk is about meditation. This daily practice is about sitting because that is where habits change. And the daily practice is about using it in real life because that is when the test happens, when you can see for yourself whether you are in the path or not. How do you see whether you are, how do you test for yourself? Now the Buddha said, if you see the impermanence of sankhara formations, if you see the suffering of sankhara, the formations, if you see the non-self that is coming because of this whole process, the door to nirvana opens to you. He was referring to Sotapanna. Now there's a problem with Sotapanna. This is the problem with Sotapanna. Once a businessman came to the Buddha and asked, "Oh great one, oh noble one, am I Sovan, how would I find out? And the Buddha said, you are Sovan. And the guy was taken aback. He said, no, 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 no. You are mistaken, my lord, because I absolutely cannot be Sovan. Just now, before coming here to Jetavanarama, I went to my site and the people were just idling and I lost it. I treat them like a father. I give them everything that no employer ever gives. And the moment I am out, they were heedless. They were not working. I got so angry, I blasted all of them. There is no way I can be Sovan. And the Buddha mentioned, you are Sotapanna. And the guy said, no, 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 I think you are misunderstood. And the Buddha said, you are Sotapanna. And after that, the Buddha remained quiet because he will say it only 3 times and then he will not waste his breath on it anymore. The guy went out, to cut the long story short, he went out shaking his head. He was not convinced. So Venerable Ananda came and asked, what was that all about? And the Buddha shrugged and said, he's Sotapanna. And Venerable Ananda said, but he doesn't believe it. And the Buddha said, it doesn't matter whether he believes it or not. He's Sotapanna. So this told me that whether you're Sotapanna or not, don't even try to figure out. Even if the Buddha tells you, you won't believe it, right? You won't believe it. Then what is important? What is important is this. The Buddha said there are 3 roots, Lobha, Dvesha, Moha, right? Desire, aversion, and ignorance. This me, myself, I is because of this ignorance, misunderstanding. Now, as you go down this path of the Dhamma, your Lobha, Dvesha, Moha, gradually, inch by inch, decimal by decimal, 1% by 1%, starts eroding. Now, friends, this is a good yardstick. So just ask yourself, 10 years ago versus today, have my desires subdued to some extent? Has my aversion subdued to some extent? Has my ignorance subdued to some extent? If yes, I don't know whether you are Sotapanna or not, but I can definitely tell you that you are definitely on the path. These are self-tests. We don't have the Buddha to go and ask. And remember, friends, when the Buddha became a Samma Sambuddha, and he was walking towards Jetavanarama to meet the 5 ascetics and talk about this absolutely fantastic insights that he now has, he met so many people. The 5 ascetics themselves, nobody believed him. Upakajivaka asked him on the way, friend, you look so nice and peaceful. Tell me who you are, who is your teacher, blah, blah. I won't go into that. And the Buddha said, I am an enlightened being. I have figured it out. I know it all now. And Upaka was like, yeah. See you around. He didn't believe it. He meets a Samma Sambuddha face to face. And he's not convinced. Okay, so if you are ever wondering whether somebody is Sovan or Rahat, forget it. The 5 ascetics, they were not convinced. And finally, the Buddha had to say, have I ever lied to you? And they said, no. And then he's saying, yeah, I'm not lying to you. And they were like, okay. 6 years, he tried. He never lied. He never said, I'm a Buddha. They gave him the benefit of the doubt, friends. They were not convinced. You don't know a Buddha when you see one. All you can know is, are you feeling a bit more peaceful today than you did 10 years ago? That's all. So this is why meditation is important. This is why your daily practice is important. This is why most Venerable Homagama Kondanya Thero, who was my master, meditation master, my fathers, and many of viewers here, he said, 5 minutes is better than no minutes. And that is how I started. Because you can't argue with that, right? You can't say that you don't have 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So why is sankhara impermanent? Because there are two ways of looking at this. One way is the long rounded way. Your eye is impermanent. Your visual object is impermanent. The two got connected because of your mind contacted. How permanent is your mind? You do Anapanasati for 5 minutes. Can you keep your mind? My God, the mind is so fleeting. Mind is changing all the time. So your changing eye, the changing visual object, and your changing attention comes together and creates a visual consciousness. How permanent is that? And that visual consciousness goes into this long process of cognition, recognition, perception. Is perception permanent? No, it's changing all the time. You're changing your mind all the time about everything. Something you liked yesterday, you hate today. Tomorrow, you like it again. That is one way of looking at it. And then the sankhara is the outcome, where you are deciding, not deciding, it's automatic reaction. Sankhara has many, many names. It's called mental formations. It's called chetana. It's called karmic actions, karmic formations. It's called intentions. It's called many things. And the Buddha said it's all impermanent. So friends, the story in my mind about Dr. Manori, where is that formed? It's formed in my mind. And the whole reaction to that is how I think, speak, and act. That is what the Buddha said is impermanent. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. Because this entire process happens so fast. You can't see the two fireballs. You can only see the ring of fire. So how do we perceive this? This is how it happens. My eye, mind's attention, visual object connects, and straight go to formations. We skip that entire process because it's too fast. Okay? We straight go to formations. So that is why the Buddha said, all formations. Sabbe sankhara anitya. Siyalu sanskara anitya. Another thing that told me that this is important is, remember the Buddha's last words when he was passing away? Imagine a person sleeps only 1 hour a day, rest another 1 hour. 45 years, he wanted to teach this out of compassion, and because he was convinced that everybody, almost everybody can get this. And when he knew he has just a few more words to speak, you would imagine that he'd speak something very, very important. And what were his last words? Siyalu sanskara anitya, nopamawa something, right? What did he say? Something, yeah, like make haste, friends, something like that. I had to apologize. I can't remember the words, but I always remember what it meant. He said, all constructions, all mental constructions are impermanent. Make haste, friends. You can die tonight. He didn't say you can die tonight. Why would he say that? His last breath. He could have said anything, and this is what he chose. So sankhara is impermanent. And that is what we need to experience. So let me invite you to do something. All of you will have a water bottle, right, with you. I invite you to now take a sip of water and just close your eyes for a minute and see what's happening. Because when the water hits your tongue, right, remember, for you to know that something is happening, the tongue should be there, the taste object should be there, and the mind's attention should be there, and the tongue consciousness arises. And as it arises, all the Vedana, Sanya, all that is too fast. We straight go into the reaction. And the reaction is the thoughts that start arising. So there'll be thoughts arising about the water you are drinking. You might be thinking, I'm thirsty. You might think, I should have made a cup of tea instead. I don't know what you're going to think. Let's try this. Okay, nothing like trying this. So, people in the hall, do you have water? Oh, come on. Who comes to? Oh, my God. Okay. All right. So if you have water, please go ahead and just drink this. And see, you are listening and you are drinking. The mind can do only one thing at a time, right? So you can either listen or you can drink. But of course, we do both, because for 1/10 of a second, your mind goes to hearing, 1/10 of a second, your mind goes to drinking. And within a second, you have done both. So you misunderstand this. You think you're multitasking, you are not. So wonderful. I can see one person tried this. Okay. Now, so that some reaction would have come in your mind. Okay, we'll ask you about that in a second. And this is the whole, the sankhara. This is what causes everything. So for those of you who know Paticca Samuppada, let me just tell it to you in 2 minutes. Avidya Pachaya Sankhara. Ignorance leads to mental constructions. The mental construction leads to consciousness. Consciousness leads to Namarupa, Vijnana, and the blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Dr. Manori is signaling. Okay, that's another story. But even the Paticca Samuppada, all of this is told about right now. The bhava, right? So Avidya, Sankhara, Vijnana, Namarupa, then the Salayatana, which are the sense bases, the 6 sense bases that I'm talking about, the sense doors, Salayatana. Then comes Phassa, Vedana, Tanha, Upadana, Bhava, Jati. With Jati comes Jara, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this Bhava, creating that existence. Now this is taught as a rebirth linking consciousness and everything. Actually, he was talking about right now. Because of our misunderstanding of Sankhara, we are creating me, myself, I right now. And because we are creating me, myself, I right now, me, myself, I will grow old, get sick, and die. And that scares the hell out of us. That scares us so much. And because we are creating me, myself, I right now, the other beings also we have created, my son, my daughter, my husband, my wife, my house, my car, they will also decay and die. And that scares the hell of us too. So this is happening right now. I will end by reminding about 2 years ago, our good friend Anoja did a beautiful session here on the Poya Day. And she asked something that I have been thinking since she asked that question. Can you pinpoint the present moment? And we all realized, thanks to her expert guidance on that Anapanasati session, that we can't pinpoint present moment. It's too fleeting. But you can observe the present moment through Vidarshan. Present moment cannot be sensed through the sense doors. Present moment can be understood through Vipassana. And I will tell the last anecdote and I will stop. The anecdote is this, friends. The Buddha said there is a step-by-step process to wisdom. Sutamaya prajna, chintamaya prajna, bhavanamaya prajna. At the time of the Buddha, there were no books. So whatever you heard, you've heard from your ear. Hearing can lead to wisdom related to hearing, Sutamaya prajna. Nowadays, reading also is the same thing. Reading and hearing leads to a certain level of basic wisdom. Chintamaya Prajna is reflection. You think about what you heard and read, and you start applying it to yourself. Okay, now this makes sense. Oh, yeah. I internalize it. Chintamaya Prajna. My friends, this is the problem. We stop there. What you need is Bhavanamaya Prajna, and that you can't use your six senses for that. You can't use your six senses for that, friends. Bhavanamaya Prajna is the insight you get through experiential wisdom. Experiential wisdom we all are capable of. Let me give you this anecdote and you will see how capable we are of this experiential wisdom. Think of a 2-year-old baby who is having his or her birthday party, right? I specifically chose 2 years and above because this is the age of experimentation. The terrible twos. So there's a beautiful cake and a candle, 2 candles. And the candle is beautiful. And the child wants to touch it. And the mother says, oh, darling, don't touch it. You will get burnt, Puta. It will hurt your little finger. Now the child has confidence in the mother. The child trusts the mother. So he believes what he hears out of faith. This is why you need a bit of faith initially. And he doesn't touch the flame. Then again, he notices nobody's around. At least the mother isn't around. And if the flame is so alluring, it's beautiful. He wants to touch the flame. And then he thinks about it. Maybe it is painful. Maybe. There have been other painful experiences. Maybe this is painful. Thinking about it. But you know that that's not going to stop a 2-year-old. We all have touched the candle flame at some point in our life because we all know what it is. And this child touches the candle flame and he gets experiential wisdom of what it means. Thereafter, he sees no value in the beauty and the alluring nature, inviting, attractive nature of a candle flame. He knows that it is absolutely useless. After that, he doesn't pay any attention to the candle flame ever again. This is how we get enlightened, friends. This is how we get enlightened. Everything that we think is supreme now, everything that we think is very important and noble, is everything that we have incorrectly perceived. The ring of fire, a candle flame. We need to experience ourselves, what is really happening. And then you will not construct anymore. There is no ignorance. When there is no ignorance, there is no construction. And the Paticca Samuppada reverses. When there is no construction, there is no value in your consciousness. The Buddha called the consciousness a magician. Why do you think he called it a magician? Remember, he used anecdotes. You have seen magic. It's unbelievable, right? Magic. But you also know that whoever is doing it is just trying to do something faster than our eye shutter speed. Friends, it's all about the eye shutter speed when it comes to magic. And little children get fooled. We know this is not true, but we can't figure it out. And the Buddha said the only way to figure out a magician is don't look at it from the front where he's performing. Look at it from up, look at it from down, look at it from the side, from the right side, from the left side, from the corner. Look at it from all around. Satipatthana. Look at it from various angles. So you have to observe your mind from various angles. You have to observe your mind in the way your mind reacts to this body, Kayanupassana. You have to observe your mind in the way your mind reacts to sensations that you feel, feelings, Vedananupassana. You have to observe how you are reacting to thoughts, Chittanupassana. You have to react. You have to observe how you are reacting to nature. Dhammanupassana is nature. Right? When he said, Sabbe Dhamma Anatma, right? This Dhamma is nature. You think it's unfair for a baby to die, for a child to die? Go outside, friends, and look at a tree. Of course, majority of the leaves that fall are old and withered. But after a storm, it takes a storm to fall, to fell the baby leaves. There might be 1,000 withered leaves and there might be one baby leaf, but there is one baby leaf. There'll be one green leaf. There'll be one yellow leaf. There might be 10 yellow leaves. Sorry, I got the numbers wrong. You figure it out. You get what I'm saying, right? Look at nature. And when my baby dies, when my child dies, when somebody young dies, when somebody 50, 60, 70, 80 dies, what do we say? Oh my God, I spoke to him yesterday. We are not getting it, are we? Sabbe Dhamma. Look at nature. Everything you need to know is just there. You don't need IQ for this. The Buddha said an average intelligent person can get this. Average intelligence. And my friends, I think you are too intelligent. And that is why you're not getting this. You're looking for something very, very deep. You doctors, engineers, PhDs, you're looking for something so deep. And what has been told is so simple. You're missing the point. And it requires a daily practice. So I will stop now. And I would really like to open for questions. And we apologize for the first 15 minutes that we missed. If you can stay on. If not, please contact me. I'm happy to talk to you all. In the group, is there anyone who would like to ask any questions? Or even observations, comments, anything? So Dr. Manor is asking a question. So what do I do in meditation? Okay, so Ajahn Chah, Venerable Ajahn Chah said just observe. Okay, what is there to observe? Excuse me. You can start with very simple things. You sit down, you close your eyes, you can't see. But you can hear. You can feel on your body. So observe what you can hear. Now, friends who are in the hall, next door is a private institution, and they are going to have a mega opening. A lot of music and sound. Now, you will get slightly irritated or highly irritated because what you want is peace and quiet to ponder on something really important, a Buddha's word, and then to sound. Now, friends, your ear is just flesh. It is telling you that you can hear something. The story is constructed in your mind. You need to observe this. Observe the aversion arising. Now, this aversion, friends, it's not like a serial killer type of aversion. It's very, very subtle. You need to, this entire story is about subtle things. That is why you have to stop. Do Anapanasati for at least 10 minutes. 20 is ideal. So that your mind becomes very sharp. With that sharp mind, you can choose to just listen what you hear. And whether you like what you hear or whether you dislike what you hear. Now, I used to do this. Every Sunday, I have a Vipassana session on Zoom. And I tell them, do you like it or do you dislike it? And almost everybody says, there's nothing, I'm neutral. So then I'm like, wow, you must be enlightened. Or maybe you are not catching the subtle dislike or the subtle like. And now some after 2 weeks, some after months, some after years have told me, you are right. There is a subtle liking or a disliking. We couldn't see it before. We have to really slow down. These are past habits. We are not used to observing inside. Sati Patthana is, Sati is mindfulness. Upatthana, introspection. Introspect with mindfulness what is happening inside your mind. How these 5 aggregates are leading you to a total misunderstanding of a situation. Yes, sorry. So that was a question from this. Sorry. Anybody? Where is Samantha? Samantha surely asked a question. I don't think Samantha. Okay, there's something in chat. I'm so sorry. Okay, what is the so Samantha is asking, what is the difference between Nama, Rupa, and the 5 aggregates? Is Rupa part of the mind? Is Rupa also the 4 elements? Yes, I'm sorry, Samantha. I just so easily go into, because it's the way I learned it. It was Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So the English words are very foreign to me. I apologize for that. So Rupa is form, and form is often misunderstood as a physical form. But Rupa is actually a mental image that gets formed in the mind, which the cognition, which then gets interpreted through your perception, through your memory bank. So think of it like this. There is Rupa, Rupa, Shabda, Rupa. There is visual Rupa, there is sound Rupa. So think of it like this. When you hear a sound of a bird, can you distinguish between a crow? I don't know whether there are crows in the UK. Right now we know what a crow sounds like. We know the crow. How do you know that? The Shabda Rupa didn't tell you it's a crow. The Shabda Rupa said there's a sound. The Shabda Rupa got interpreted by the perception that it's a crow. Recognition of the sound. Right? Let's take another example. The tongue. Taste Rupa. You drank some water now, your tongue doesn't know this is water. Your tongue is just a fleshy sense door. Rupa got constructed, a taste Rupa. Your perception, your brain interpreted this, recognized this as water based on prior memories, lifelong learning and experience. You know what water is. The tongue Rupa is not water. A tongue Rupa is, our tongue is capable of 6 different tastes: saltiness, spiciness, sweetness, sourness, something, I forget, bitterness, thank you. Yeah. And maybe waterness, if there's such a thing. Your tongue doesn't know to say that this is dal, this is ice cream. The tongue knows sweet. So the tongue Rupa gets recognized as ice cream. And you humans, we humans are so complicated, we can even tell the flavor. 21 flavors of ice cream. Okay, so Samantha, I hope that explains. So the whole 5 aggregates are in the mind, right? The Rupa, the visual Rupa, the sound Rupa, the taste Rupa, the smell Rupa, the body Rupa, what you feel on the body, and the thinking, the thoughts Rupa. So the thought comes to your mind. A thought comes to your mind, a random thought. When you have nothing to do, random thoughts come to your mind. So you suddenly remember somebody who was very unpleasant to you recently. And the thought trooper is just a thought matrix, something. It gets recognized as, oh, this is so and so was really nasty and mean and bitching about me and woof, I hate that woman. And then you remind yourself, oh, I'm a person of the Dhamma. This is not suitable for me. This is not suitable. What she does is for her. What I do is for me. Let me now evoke some metta thoughts. May I bless her. This is so and so. Now all that is construction, okay? All that is construction, but it's a good construction. Kusala karma, holistic. But friends, it's still a karma, it's still a construction. There's still I. If you are enlightened, thought enters your mind. So and so was unpleasant. It's recognized. What is the recognition? Everything is impermanent. Everything is subject to dissatisfaction. This is just a momentary experience. And by the time I experience this, that moment has passed. There's nothing here. Nothing to construct. Your memory, all your memory is there. Your filing cabinet is there. Your memory is there. It has got overwritten. It has got overwritten by 3 words. Everything in this world, everything is impermanent. It's changing all the time. So fast, I can't comprehend it. It cannot be comprehended by these human senses. Everything that is changing so fast is dissatisfactory. And anything that is changing so fast and dissatisfactory cannot be an entity. There's nothing here. Nothing here. Nothing happened. Nothing to see. Even though the eye faculty is seeing something, there's nothing to see. Even though the hearing faculty is hearing something, there's nothing to hear. Even though the tongue faculty is tasting something, there's nothing to taste. Even though the nose faculty is smelling something, there's nothing to smell. And if the body is feeling something, there's nothing to feel. The mind is thinking, there's nothing to think, because there's nothing. There's nothing. Everything is nothing. There is no being. No being, no death, no illness, no growing old. Then there's no problem. Now, if you think this is going to make you a real mean, selfish SOB, it's going to make you one of the most amazing, compassionate person in the world, because you can now see through ignorance how others are suffering, and you have so much compassion for them. You will do everything possible to help them. Out of compassion. There's another message. Samantha say, finally got it. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you, Samantha. So anyone from the audience? Comments? Any comments? Madam, you tasted water. Can you, Sureka, if you can tell us, what was your experience in tasting water? Yes, you recognized it? Yes. Fine. Was there any liking? Because your throat must have been parched, your tongue must have been parched. It was a pleasant sensation. Did you observe a subtle liking? Yes. Yes. Did you observe the upadana, which is the water is not on your tongue anymore, but you want it. You want it to continue and you want to take another sip. Did you observe that? Brilliant. That is what you need to observe. Upadana is when the sense door and the sense object and the mind's attention is not connected anymore, but you are still constructing. What are you constructing? There is no experience. You are still constructing with nothing. That is Upadana. That is holding on to it with such intense liking. Holding on to things that Mrs. Whoever was unpleasant to you. Holding on to things with such intense dislike, aversion, Upadana. And the Buddha said, Pancha Upadana skandhayama dukai. This is the problem, Upadana. Upadana leads to bhava. So we are creating my existence right now. So friends, this is not a question about did Buddha talk about rebirth or not? No. That you go to the sutras, you figure it out yourself. That was never the question. The question is, he was not referring to it in the Four Noble Truths and the Paticcasamuppada and the Panchaskandha. He was talking about us forming me, myself, I, through every experience again and again, forming and liking, forming and aversion, forming and tanha, forming, and liking, disliking, disliking. I was looking at my house, which I have inherited from my parents, which is 100 years old. And I was thinking it's looking quite shabby. I need to paint it, I need to construct it, and I can't afford it. It's too expensive. And I was like, why am I seeing it now? Why didn't I see it 10 years ago? It was always decaying. It's decaying right now. After you paint a 100-year-old house, it looks new. Because you can't see the decaying right now. And then I was thinking, can I look at my house and see decaying? And the problem, my house, it's another weight I'm carrying. Suppose it's not my house. Really? Suppose this is not my son. Oh my God. Guilty, but relief. Relief. Because not my problems anymore. Suppose this body, suppose this not my problem anymore. Oh my God. But I'm too attached right now. I can't even think about it. Makes me feel slightly depressed to even think about it. It just shows you then how far away you are and how much more you need to keep observing. See, this whole depressive, scary thoughts are because we are not used to it. We are not used to it. We are so used to the ring of fire. We are not used to seeing the two balls of fire. So once you start seeing it 5 minutes a day, Venerable Homagama Konnanja, 3rd of February is 1 year since he passed away. And all of you who are very fond of him, 5 minutes a day, that's what he said. Think of, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day and observe the two balls of fire. I'm going to observe myself, me, myself, I, in this thinking process. Observe desire, aversion. That's all. Just close your eyes and observe. When you are eating, observe the desire. That's why the Buddha said, eat slowly. Eat slowly. Take food, munch 20 times, he said. We just munch twice and gulp because we are longing for the next taste. Longing. Munch 20 times. Then gulp and pause and observe the longing. I am not eating the food for sustenance. I am eating the food for enjoyment. All right. Here is me. You can observe me, myself, I. Observe it, friends. You have to first observe it. Then only one day you will realize this how it is stopping you. You should really stop now. No? Yeah. No. Everybody is thinking about hopefully the 5 minutes of observation. Shall we then close? Yes. So yes, I have been asked to pass merit. Dr. Manoj, come please. So I pass merit like this. Okay, this is my way because I forget everything. Gatha, I was very bad at Gatha. So my way of passing merit is through meaning. So friends, we listen to the word of the Buddha. You have to use your wisdom, like the Buddha said, to think, is this really what the Buddha said? Because the Buddha said, even if I said it, don't believe it. So use your common sense, your wisdom, and you have learned, you have heard something, Sutamaya Prajna. While listening, you are reflecting, Chintamaya Prajna. You can start today itself in your experiential wisdom. And for all the merit accumulated, because there are a lot of construction going on in our mind, a lot of sankhara got created, but very positive, wholesome sankhara. And all that things of this kusala karma, may any being who needs this thing, may they get blessed with it. May all the departed relatives, friends, who you are fond of, who have departed from your life, if any one of them needs this, may they be blessed with it. Dear friends, may this merit bless all of you. May you all be healthy, all be well. May you all be peaceful. And may you all understand the Four Noble Truths. May you all feel and understand the Tilakkhana. Get enlightened this birth itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May everyone be blessed with the triple win. Teruvan San. I'll stop the recording.